had to be intentional of breaking the silence that I grew up feeling like that silence was my home and my destiny. And I remember the first time I started speaking about my story, I started speaking about abuse in my family and my childhood.
Yeah.
I was shaking. I was in college,
Wow.
and it was like with a very intimate group of friends, and I opened up, and I remember I was like sobbing in between words, but that's when I realized the power of my words, the power of my story being told and not silenced, que no me estaba aguantando lo que me pertenecía a mí, my truth.
Yeah.
And after that, my whole life changed, and it was challenging because there's always resistance when you break the silence.
Yeah.
But it also made me realize how powerful my words and my voice is.
God damn. Oh, you hit on something that I really love, that you thought this silence was like your destination. Like, this was my life. This is who I was. There's identity attached to that. There's that I can't imagine like realizing that that's even something you imposed. That's something that's optional. That's something that's not, it doesn't have to be. And that opens you up to like such a bigger world, which is also frightening as well for you to even be able to like process that. Was there like any moments in that childhood where you kind of questioned that, or was that always like inherently that truth?
It was always the calladita te ves más bonita that I was born into, that I kept hearing, that I thought like I would only be loved if I was quiet, if I was silent, if I was like, a good girl. And it was until every time that I tried to speak up, I would feel like myself shake. And so I grew up being afraid of my voice. I grew up thinking like, if I speak, it's going to be something that I'm going to get punished for, or they're not going to love me anymore. O voy a ser una niña fea porque no voy a estar calladita. Yo quería ser calladita porque yo quería ser bonita porque I wanted that acceptance.
Yeah.
And when I started to write, I wouldn't use my voice out loud, but the chiquita, I would write. I would write all my feelings. I would write all my thoughts. And that was the way that I found around the silence. But it wasn't until I was 18 and I left home that I dared to actually speak.
Wow. I mean, there's, I'm so glad you found like a vessel in writing to be able to like see that. And there's something beautiful about seeing it like external, like you're seeing it on the page. Like, I have all this in me. Like, this is all here.
Like, to hold it, to hold the words, and to go to know that this is a book dedicated to that little girl that would write, that would shake, that was afraid. And I want her to know and to see that we que atravesamos mucho, that we overcame so much.
Yeah.
And now our voice is our power, and that's something that we're afraid of, and that I'm beautiful because I've spoken up, that my beauty is in my voice and my power, in my courage, in the healing. And I want so many other women and their niñas and other niñas and mujeres who are in this journey to feel less alone.
Wow. There's something beautiful about knowing that there's these early writings of your younger self, and now you have this whole book that has been able to touch other people. And what you're saying hits me, and I'm not even a lady. I'm a man in these streets, but like it's a human thing of like, wow, that child like quietness, like yeah, that was my identity. If I speak up, then I'm dealt with some sort of something that doesn't make me feel safe or okay.
The Self-Hype Podcast. The Self-Hype Podcast.